Hello, everyone. It's great to see many of you here with us, joining us in our live session today. Thank you for taking the time to be part of our Strategy and Performance Master Series. For those who are meeting me for the first time, I'm Jerusalem Bello, an innovation consultant at Actio. This session is sponsored by Actio, and Actio is a software company that helps transform strategy into measurable action. We offer an integrated platform that connects strategy, KPIs, projects, and OKR all in one place, along with our embedded AI capability. All right, today's session is all about the classic framework meeting a modern world, AI, ESG, and digital transformation, the new lens for the Balanced Scorecard. If this is your first session, welcome. This master series is an 8-part journey covering everything from how strategy covers OKR, AI, Balanced Scorecard, continuous improvements. We are now in our fourth session. In session 1, we explored the evolution of strategy execution. Session 2 was focused on embracing agility with OKRs, and the recent one was on it highlighted how AI can reshape strategic management practices. If you haven't joined our previous session, I encourage you to go and watch them. And we designed these series to have different formats. Some are going to be in a lecture-like format, other with case study from a real world. And also we have a format like today, which is an interview with an expert. A quick reminder, we have created a dedicated community for strategy and performance professionals. It's a space for you to share your thoughts, learn from your peers, and also continue the conversation from this webinar. So if you haven't already joined, I highly recommend that you connect with us there. And also, please feel free to drop your comments in the chat during the session. We'll pick them up along the way and address them at the end in a dedicated Q&A segment. Before you leave, we would love to hear your thoughts. So there's a short survey. We'll share the link. Please help us fill that. It will help us improve each session and also shape our next content. Right, so here's what we have lined up for you today. We'll start with the expert interview with Hassib Jaber, and also we'll have a live demo of how Actio helps with the Balanced Scorecard, and I'll come back and show you the demo. And the last would be an interactive Q&A. The experts will be answering your questions. Okay, so with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest, Hassib Jaber. He brings decades of experience advising executives on strategy, transformation, and performance management. And also joining him today is Guilherme Barbassa, who's the CEO of Actio Software. He's the driving force behind our platform. Over to you, Guilherme.
Thank you, Jerusalem. Well, welcome, Hassib. Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Same here. It's very good talking to you again and sharing your experience with our audience, right? So, Hassib, let's jump in. Today, we're going to talk about Balanced Scorecard. It's a very traditional framework already, and it's been for a few decades, right, on the market, but it's been evolving and adapting to new topics and trends, and this is our conversation today. How has it been evolving? Where is it going to? Is it still relevant, right? So before we jump in, I'd like to know a little bit more of our audience. And we have a very quick poll here for you guys, just to understand the level of knowledge around Balanced Scorecard. So how many of you use a balanced scorecard in your organization. If you do, just put yes. If you don't, but have in the past, right, there's an option for that. Or if you don't, but have the intention of implementing, you can also have this option. I see that we have people raising hands. My suggestion is write on the chat. I'm going to be monitoring the chat, and we can call you as soon as we have a brief interruption here. And I see the questions are pretty much well distributed. About a third just changed. About 45% of people are using. Some have used in the past, and others have the intention of using. And it's being very dynamic. Now, actually, most people are not using, but have the intention of using in the future. Okay, so if there is the intent, it means that there is a basic knowledge around balanced scorecard, right? To implement them. So I guess this is going to be a very fruitful talk for those that have the intention of implementing, and for those that use them. How has balanced scorecard adapted to topics like ESG, the AI revolution, and digital transformation as a whole? This is going to be very much addressed in our talk today, so I hope it's going to be of lots of value to all of you. Thank you for those that filled in the poll. Well, Hassib, for us to jump in then, I'd like to ask you, like, Balanced Scorecard has been around for decades, right? In your view, what makes it still relevant today? And all of these new topics, how are these new topics impacting Balanced Scorecard? Are there new dimensions or perspectives that are being considered within the Balanced Scorecard framework beyond the traditional four ones, like financial, customer, internal processes, and learning and growth?
Yeah.
And how has the strategy maps been impacted, or the way that we communicate the strategy to the organization, right?
Sure.
So there are a lot of questions, a lot of issues. I'm going to turn it over to you, Hassib, to tackle these points with us.
Thank you very much, Guillermo. All valid questions, and let me start just briefly, very briefly, with the background of the Balanced Scorecard. I mean, originally it was intended to answer a simple question, or even to address a problem. If you can't measure it, you don't understand it. Yeah. So that's triggered the concept of KPIs, of balanced scorecards, and how to measure performance and adjust your business according to the performance. But within this framework, there was also the notion of balancing that financial metrics are not the only metrics that reflect the performance. There are other non-financial metrics, and as you mentioned, there's financials, customer, internal processes, learning, and growth. Embedded in those is the implicit conflict of objectives, and I'm sure any business of any size has faced those conflict of objectives, yeah, and how you balance between them. So the Balanced Scorecard offered that, and offered it in an integrated way. So if you think about everything that I've mentioned, it is still relevant today. In fact, some very interesting things happened to the perspectives, specifically around customer. When it started, businesses were saying, what product should we make to sell? And then it flipped around, and the question became, what our customers want us to make for them. Yeah. And this is a really interesting flip, which triggered the entire space of customer experience. So, which is very relevant, which is center in every discussion almost these days. So it is relevant. The perspectives are still there, and there is still, and it's a very effective tool for managing the performance of your business. However, the balanced scorecard evolved with time, and it has specifically been evolving the past few years, especially around the transition to Industry 4.0. So there are some dimensions that are being introduced to the balanced scorecard. One of them, as you mentioned, sustainability and ESG, environment, society, and governance. And it's basically this dimension is trying to answer a very simple question. What are we creating? What value we're creating for the planet and our society? Yeah. And some of the metrics are carbon footprint or percent circular material. Now, I've worked on a project where one association of companies asked a similar question, and the question was, what are we as a group of companies contributing to society, quantitative and non-quantitative? And it was a very eye-opening exercise for the association itself and for the other stakeholders. The other dimension everybody, I'm sure, on the call is familiar with, digital and technology, and the speed of which it has been evolving over the past 10, 15 years, and specifically over the past 3-4 years since AI has been, or generative AI has been introduced. So, and this is trying to answer the question, are we becoming digital? Are we keeping pace with the digital advancement? Are we using it effectively? How effectively are we using? What is the impact of this technology on our business? The third one, innovation and future readiness. Now, people would say, innovation has always existed. Fine. Yes, absolutely. It has always existed. Now we're saying, okay, with all of these changes, how quickly are you adapting? Yeah, how quickly are you introducing new functions, features, or new products and services to the market? How are you adjusting to the changes in the market? Risk, compliance, resilience always been, this other function that you always have to call upon and give me something, give me a report, give me a number, give me a table of what are the risks. What is happening these days is that it is front and center. Yeah, it is a very important dimension, especially with everything that's happening in the world, in the geopolitics and the economic turmoil in some areas. So these are becoming very important dimensions in the balanced scorecard. And last but not least is the culture and engagement, and especially with this, introduction of the new technologies, the AI, the quantum computing, the changes that these are bringing to society. And the changes that come to society usually find their way into corporations. So what are we doing to upskill our workforce or reskill our workforce? So these are some of the dimensions that are coming in.
Let me deep dive into this. So before Balanced Scorecard, companies had their quarterly reports with financial data, right? But this financial data reflected only the end. It didn't show if it reflected the past, right? Things that were done in the past that led to that financial result. It did not reflect the future. Like, will we keep up with this performance, or is there any pitfall right around the corner because our clients are not satisfied, or because our processes are not in line with our client needs, or because we don't have the knowledge base to keep the processes in line with the client needs to generate future value, right? So reflected past value and not future value. So Balanced Scorecard created these perspectives to show sustainability of this financial delivery in the long run, right?
Yes.
So today we hear a lot of who is not aligned and does not develop the capability of AI within their organization is doomed to fail in the long run, right? That we've been hearing this a lot in the market. So this AI, this ability to innovate and or be future readiness, as you put it, right? AI in specific, does it change the perspectives themselves of the balanced scorecard? Is it a new perspective that is a need to have future readiness, to have financial results in the long run? Or does it fit within the perspectives that were originally thought of?
Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent points, Guillermo. And there's quite a few things in your question there. And before I move into answering them, let's move to the next poll question, if you don't mind. And I think
Of course.
it's coming up in the chat, I presume.
Yeah. How do AI and digital capabilities show up in your strategy? So yeah, exactly the question I made, right? Does it show up as a strategic objective within the current framework? Does it show up as a new perspective, like a new line in your balanced scorecard strategy map, or does it not show up? So please fill in here so we can have an idea of those that use. And we saw in the last poll that most people aren't using balanced scorecard at the moment. So you can also feel free to fill in the poll with what you think it should be, right? Even though you might not use balanced scorecard at the moment. We're seeing results coming in. For now, most of the people believe it's a strategic objective, right? Within the existing perspectives, not necessarily a new perspective. And some people believe that, that it doesn't show up. They're saying that it doesn't show up today doesn't mean that they believe that it shouldn't, right? It's not just the current strategy map for their organizations.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think, Hassib?
Good. So that's when if you know in the presentation when we started with the 4 perspectives, and we're also along the same line that these perspectives can accommodate those new dimensions, including AI. Now, what is this digital transformation is bringing to us? Yeah, how is it impacting our balanced scorecard? How is it helping us manage? Because you pointed out, Guillermo, to the fact that traditionally the balanced scorecard was looking in the history, like you're looking in the past, what happened in the past, yeah. But today, with these capabilities, it is very possible to look into the future with these new tools. So one of the important things that are happening to the balanced scorecard is the real-time monitoring of the parameters or the KPIs, real-time monitoring using recently some of the AI capabilities to do some what-if scenarios. Yeah, and this what-if scenarios, it's going to be these are really interconnected topics. The what-if scenarios are really critical in an environment that has high uncertainty. And when you're transitioning between industrial revolutions, it is a transition period. And in that transition period, there is a high uncertainty. And hence, you need to be as flexible as possible and run some scenarios for what the future may look like. Some specific metrics may use AI agents that can analyze questions around customer. Let's say, why is customer turnover red in country A? You don't have to pose the question. You can create an AI agent that is actually looking, and you can call it the customer the customer agent or the customer churn agent, which has specific parameters that it's looking for across your businesses. Digital twins and scenario sandboxes, and I wouldn't hide it. I'm biased towards digital twins, and I can give you like 2-3 examples very quickly. Singapore created a digital twin using the Dassault platform. Dubai created a digital twin of its water system. Siemens is working on a personalized digital twin of a person's heart. Yeah. What does this allow people to do is to understand the dynamics of the systems and the complex interactions of the parameters that govern that system. And also what's important, what would happen in the future if we stress test those systems. The other topic that's coming up also is the collaboration and the cascading of the metrics. Yeah. And yes, you could say that, okay, it happened in the past, but right now, because of this tight network of technology, this fabric of technology that's woven within the organization, this collaboration and interaction is happening at a much faster speed and in more real time. And the last topic is the integrated ESG and risk layers. As I mentioned earlier, real-time, globally integrated ESG and risk. And the typical example here, I'll talk about 4 years ago, if you tell somebody, you need to be conscious of geopolitics and what's going on in the world. I know somebody told me, oh, no, that's too much. Yeah, but history says that no, the geopolitics ended up costing $1 million per ship coming from Southeast Asia to North America. So when you have this input, and this is real-time monitoring of events and activities that are happening, and there are some platforms out there that specialize in feeding your balanced scorecard. So those are some of the new digital capabilities that are bubbling within within it.
Before we go for the next poll, I'd like to comment here and also get your insight on so much of many of these touch points of AI with strategy management are happening, making strategy management more online, more real time, right?
Yes.
Be it digital twins where you can stress test something, so you're more able to be more iterative with your suppositions and hypotheses, and testing on digital twins before putting it live, be it with real-time connectors with AI, so you can have like a constant update of the validity of your strategy, and something that can trigger, okay, you have to review your strategy now because the scenario, the real scenario has changed. So what you thought of, you have to review that now, right? And not wait for the next 3, 4, 5 year cycle to review your strategy. So it's becoming a lot more real time and not by chunks, right? But a constant process of strategy management. But I do have some questions about how applicable it's today. Like, is it ready to go? For example, digital twins, you mentioned a couple of examples there, which are very interesting. But in your experience, are they constantly updated, or do we have to like create a digital twin, live with that for a while, and then do another one in some time? My question is, what's the maintenance required on these AI agents, on these digital twins, to make the strategy management process a constant flow, right?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
excellent question, Jeremy. And yes, they do require the maintenance and they do require the updates. And especially these days with the a long time ago, people used to sit and think, okay, 3 years from now, what's my strategy? 5 years, 10 years. But today, you can't afford that. In fact, lots of companies are refreshing their strategies maybe more than once a year. Yeah, just to adapt to it. And when you do that, you have no choice but to go back to your agents and to your digital twins to update them. And by the way, digital twins, maybe it's a new word, but it's nothing but simulation, which has existed for quite some time. Yeah, shop floor simulation has been around for quite some time. Engine simulation has been here for quite some time. And yes, they do require the maintenance. Now, with the cost of computing and the computing power, it's becoming more economically viable for businesses of all sizes almost to adopt these techniques. And there are different business models out there. If you don't want to own the maintenance 100% internally, you can outsource it 100%, or you can outsource it partially on a contract basis. There's quite some innovative models that are happening out there to support businesses around the AI, agentic AI management, and digital twins.
Yeah, that's a very specific knowledge of how to do that. That for some companies, worth just having outsourced to specialists, right? Instead of
Yes.
developing. And that is
Yes.
actually another question I'd like to ask you. I don't know if we're going to have time for all the questions, but
That's okay.
when to outsource, when to create your own capability. But I'll hold on to that question for now.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the poll, I'd like to ask people, if you have questions, feel free to put on your questions and answers here in the Teams. There's an icon on the top. Or if you'd like to put the questions here on chat, we're going to address them right after the show in practice of how technology and AI is helping these processes. But I will address one of them that is from Salman. How many sessions do we have for these masterclasses, and would we be able to do one-on-one in strategy? Yes, absolutely. You can contact directly Hassib, and we are on our fourth webinar for fourth masterclass out of 8 in this program, but we've been having feedback to ask us to continue after the 8th, so we're considering that and making this program a continuous offer. So that's how we are today. Salman, I'll ask Hassib to contact you later, or ourselves,
Okay.
And we have another question, but I'll save this next one for the end of our event here.
Okay. And just quickly, the outsource, not to outsource, depends quickly on your business strategy and your ambition. Yep. And that's all. I'll leave it there, and then we can discuss later. So let's move on to poll number 3. And how do ESG and sustainability show up in your strategy?
So similar question that we did for AI, right? But now looking at ESG and sustainability. This is a very trendy topic at the moment. Lots of people or organizations are still migrating to incorporating sustainability and ESG in their strategy. So many organizations still treat them as two parallel worlds, right? One strategy and another one ESG, as if they weren't connected. But we've been seeing more and more organizations integrate these two fronts, right? So for now, we have evenly split, showing that ESG is environmental, social, and governance. It's big movement that supports organizations having this long-term sustainability embedded in their performance reporting and strategy management. It's sorry, I answered Lindsay's question here from the chat, right? Okay, so some people do adopt ESG and sustainability as a perspective different from digital transformation and AI that most people adopt as simply an objective in the strategy map, right? Okay, we're still moving here with the. Go ahead, Hassib. Sorry.
Okay. That's good. I mean, and to make a comment on people who have not used BSC before or use it but they don't have it currently, it's always good to start it, and it's a matter of how to implement it correctly, yeah, and do it in a simple way. And we're going to talk here about what does it take to sustain it, and a lot of times people miss the fact that you need data, reliable data, to support your balanced scorecards and your KPIs. And that is okay if you don't have the data. What I've done with one of the clients is we created a program for every KPI that they were missing data for. We created a data plan for them to acquire that data over time so that they could measure that KPI. Now, we talked about the history, the evolution, the impact of technology, but how do we sustain all of that? Yeah, how do we keep it moving? And what are actually the best practices there? I would say leading practices rather than best practices. Driving decisions. So we need to be living. You know, the successful companies who have implemented balanced scorecards are those that have their employees living the metrics. Yeah, it drives decision making. It is in status meetings. It is in discussions. It's continuously in the dialogue of the organization, and it's not just this quarterly checkpoint to look where the numbers are. The other thing is the oops, sorry. The other area is the linking between the KPIs and the BSC and the performance reviews of individuals. Yeah, and this has always been known to be a very impactful attribute of successful companies that were able to diffuse the strategy within their organization. Meaning, if I'm a programmer sitting somewhere, I need to understand what is my impact on this KPI that's being measured on the balanced scorecard. Yeah, so that diffusion of strategy should be across the organization. All of it should be tied to my performance, not from a threatening piece, but actually from being proud of my contributions to the strategy. The third is a similar theme, which is the infusion of the KPIs and the balanced scorecard in the corporate language at all levels. Yeah, it is the language. It is, I'm doing this because the metrics have gone down. I'm doing this because the metric has gone up. And by the way, balanced scorecard is not about always checking what went wrong, but it's also good to use it for what is going right and why. Yeah, because you may want to keep doing what you're doing. And the last thing is the ongoing refinement and innovation. Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, you know, with this continuous change, with this evolution, rapid evolution and transition to the fourth industrial revolution, there's a lot of refreshes of strategy. And when you refreshes of strategy, you automatically have to do a refreshing for the balanced scorecard. And my advice to people who want to undertake this journey is to be practical. You don't want the balanced scorecard to be an overwhelming burden on the organization that actually, and I've heard some stories about organizations really kind of tied up in the balanced scorecard. They had so many metrics, there's so many all over the place. They spend so much time managing it more than managing the business. That's not the intent here. Be simple, be practical, and focus on certain things, and always adjust as you go.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the slides, Guillermo. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me here.
No, absolutely, Hassib. And could you go back to the last slide just
Yes.
for a quick comment? I got basically the whole balanced scorecard movement from beginning to end, right? I worked with consulting when balanced scorecard was becoming a thing in the market, and all the way to today, where today I'm active CEO and we implement softwares to support strategy management, and balanced scorecard was still there, still very much present, and as we've mentioned, being adapted, right? And I've seen companies succeed and companies fail in implementing balanced scorecard or strategy management as a whole, right? Balanced scorecard is one framework of it. One thing that I noticed throughout these, who succeeded and who failed history is persistence in the topic, right? So if it's coming out of someone like I usually call like the hero comes in and says, "Oh, balanced scorecard is gonna help us, the organization," and it's a personal project from him. It usually doesn't work. It has like a hype and then it falls right after.
True.
So it has to be like sold internally so that it becomes a corporate process. It's something consistent and there's persistence on that. It's integrated with the organization's processes, as you mentioned here, a few, right? And that's when it happens. When people on top level, they don't ask for the report. They want it in this format, right? And they're required on this format, and then it becomes part of how the organization works, part of the culture and day-to-day, routine work.
True.
So go ahead, Hassib. Yeah.
No, saying no, you're absolutely right. I mean, if it cannot be one person's program, yeah. Otherwise, it will go nowhere, yeah. And it has to be just infused, spread. And by the way, when you want to do that, just from prior experience, when you implement these things, it's good to have a technology enabler, yeah, to carry that process through, because having these on paper all the time or in an email somewhere or in somebody's folder is not going to be that efficient and that effective. Yeah. So having a platform to embed, and that goes, across the board, any solution these days. Yeah. Especially with remote and global kind of operations, having it embedded in a technology platform, it would go a long way in helping adoption and sustainability.
Great. So that's an excellent segue for our next topic here on our master series. I'll call back Jerusalem to show how this can be automated in the organization and how can technology support this process in a way that it becomes a corporate process and the standard within the organization. Jerusalem.
Okay. Thank you, Guilherme. So I'll show you how an AI could be a balanced scorecard objective, right? And also how it could also be incorporated in like an ESG and also like other frameworks, because achieving a financial objective is not enough. So the goal is to also obtain sustainability. So I'll share my screen. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a strategy map. It is in a balanced scorecard framework, and this is where you see your balanced scorecard coming to life with in a modern and digital way. So we have the 4 perspective: financial, client, internal process, and learning and growth. So with the financial perspective, we have objectives like increase net income, add value to shareholder. The next with the client, we have objectives like improving brand image, and also today's focus, AI. So enhance customer experience with AI. So we have another perspective, internal process. This is where we track how we deliver that value. And we have an objective here with AI, automate core operational process using AI. At the base is learning and growth, and here also with an objective that's related to AI, building AI competency across the workforce for ensuring sustainable capability. All right. So at a glance, that you could see that how your balanced scorecard is performing. So this is not just a static diagram, it's an interactive and it's also up-to-date data. You can see that the green shows us what's on track, yellow is what's at risk, and the red indicates what needs our immediate attention. So from here, I can see that the enhanced customer experience with AI is at risk. All right, so this is not just going to be a report. So I can drill down and see what's driving this strategic objective, and if I have any other projects or OKR related to this strategic objective. So I can see that. So let's take a closer look. All right. So for this strategic objective, enhancing customer experience, so there are 2 KPIs that are driving this: the customer retention rate and AI-driven personalization rates. All right, so I can see that the gap is in this customer retention rates. So I don't just stop there. I can create a corrective action for this KPI and track my progress in the software. All right, and there's also one more thing that I see, like there is a risk linked to this strategic objective. So I see that this unauthorized access to sensitive customer data is a risk, and I have a mitigation plan for that. And I can see what my risk evaluation was in the past. Okay, it's not there, but if it was, I would see it here. And also if I have any controls for my risk, it will also be here. Okay. So let's go back to our strategy map. So let's take a closer look at another AI objective in our scorecard, which is automate core operational process using AI. All right, let's open this, see what are the drivers. So there are 3 KPIs here. One is lagging, error reduction rate. It's lagging, but the other 2 are doing okay. And there's one more thing here that I see. There is a program here linked to this objective, right? And I can see what the progress has been, the status of my action plan from this bar, and also the S-curve of my project. So this is one way that technology helps us with bridging the gap between what's being done at operational level and how that connects to the strategy. All right, so team can usually track how their action contribute to the strategy. Okay. Right, so another AI objective that we added for a learning and growth perspective is building AI competency. So let's take a closer look at this one. Open relationship, right? So I can see what the drivers are. So if I open this, I can see like the monthly performance. And also here, what you see is an OKR linked to it. All right, so the KPIs are not enough, so we need an OKR to help us achieve this goal. And I can see the progress of that here, 60%. This is the objective, fostering data-driven culture, and I have 2 key results linked to it, right? And see the progress and the person who's responsible to it and the perceived confidence in achieving this goal. They're all here in one place. Okay. So this is how we can take a look at a glance how our company performance is doing and what are the key drivers and what are all the items like the KPI, the project, the OKR that are linked to this objective. Okay, so this one type of strategy map, so we saw that it's also possible for companies to have more than one objective, right? So the ESG. So this would be an ESG map. Am I audible? Guilherme, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're audible.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I had a problem with my connection. So this is an ESG report. Okay, so you can see what the objectives are for each one of them and a materiality matrix. Okay, so another type of strategy map that we have is this one that we found from Harvard Business Review report. So we have this map that's a triple bottom line. Okay, so this links not just the financial, but also the social and the environmental at the top. So at the top of see the financial perspective, we have these 3 bottom lines. That helps with that. Okay, so companies can also use different kind of map. So it could be like the BSC and ESG separately, or also in a strategy map like this, a Mancons, that combines the 2 and have this strategy and environmental perspective as one separate perspective, and also make sure that it is also like part of the triple bottom line at the top that makes sure that they all come together. Okay, so with this, that brings us to the end of my presentation. Over to you, Guilherme.
Thank you, Ursula. You showed examples exactly like we saw the polls, right, where AI is being interpreted as a strategic objective, while ESG many times come as a new perspective on the map. So what I think was a very good coincidence that it fit exactly the poll that we asked from the people here in our audience, right? Can you guys see me? I'm not sure if I'm...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let's go back, Hassib, to questions and answers. We have a few questions here in the chat. For our audience, you can feel free to put new questions. Let's take them as they appear here in our chat, right? And let me find the first ones. So, different geopolitical regions require different strategies. How is it possible to find out the factors that influence these changes in strategies, like customer type, GDP, practices, etc., and work on them?
Yeah. Shahir, this is an excellent question, and you're spot on. The strategy, even within the same company that's global, it's going to differ from one geopolitical geography to the other. Now, if you think about strategy, what it is, for me, simply it's a set of options. Yeah. And you have to choose between these options. And the way you choose between the options is you need data and logic. Yeah. So with data and logic, you can make choices on these. Now, your question is, where does that data come from? And you're spot on. When you do strategies, they have to be done in a specific context. Yeah. And the context is usually the socio-political environment, the economic environment. Yeah. And this is information that you can get from multiple sources. I'm doing actually one right now where it's a combination. There's some platforms out there. And by the way, I'm going to mention the name, but I don't get any benefit. I actually subscribe to it. It's called Report Linker. Yeah. It does give you industry news, market analysis, market information. I'm sure there are other platforms out there, but this is the one that I've been using for quite some time. And you can get some macroeconomic environment data. You put all of these things together to come up with the proper context, and you get industry also analysis. Now, when it comes to the economics, sometimes depending on what you want in terms of GDP, you mentioned GDP, you may have to go to the World Bank for history and IMF for future. Yeah, that's how they split up. So IMF gives you more futuristic predictions. So you need to compile all of these information together. Now, as far as the customer type is involved, that is a very important question, because at the end of the day, your strategy is to produce a product, sell a product or sell a service to somebody. Yeah. So the customer type is really going to be also be driven by analysis of the social and the social, I would say, structure. Yeah. So sometimes the demographics make a difference. Yeah. Because if you have a higher percentage of 60 plus people versus less, that plays into the game, and that information is available. Now, customer behavior, these are things that these days you may or may not, it depends on the infrastructure available. You may be able to test on Google, for example, Google metrics, what's being searched on, experiences, intent, and things like that. Let me stop here. This is really a very broad topic, so I don't want to take all of time on that one.
Okay. Let me just have a segue on this point. So if for different geographies, we have different strategies, does that reflect on the strategy map as well? Like, do we have a corporate map and different adapted maps for different market segments or geographies? Is that something you see?
Yes. And that's when you design the metrics, as you know, Guillermo. Sometimes the metrics within have dimensions. Yeah. For example, if I say I want to grow my revenue by 10%. Okay, and I'm a global company. Where's that 10% going to come from? Well, 6% is going to come from our traditional locations across the globe. 4%, I want to go into a new market. Yeah. So go into this new market, I'm going to have its own metrics on what is going on in that metrics. It's going to behave differently than the existing one. On the existing one, I'm going to set certain targets based on my communication with the leadership in that area and the dynamics in that region. So out of the 6%, I might say, okay, US is going to give me 5 and 1% is going to come from the rest. Yeah. So yes, it does go into the design of your KPIs.
Okay. There's a question here specifically about the master series. So this is my first webinar. It's quite knowledgeable. Can I get the previous session recordings? So here in the chat, you will find a link to the community. In the community is where this conversation keeps going, right? So where you can present yourself, get to know other people, peers, on professionals that are in strategy management. And in the community, you can also find the previous recordings. So my suggestion is you sign up for the community, you always get related topics, and also get to see, what are the future events that we're organizing. And I think that's the easiest way you can access the recordings. We already addressed a bit about the question, what do you mean by ESG, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very broad topic. I suggest you dive deep into this, maybe a specific master series just about that, right? And another topic here by VJ. What are usually the failure points when cascading the balanced scorecard from corporate strategy down to individual objectives? What solutions does technology provide to some of these challenges?
Yeah.
And
No, excellent.
I'll connect that with the next question here: how balanced scorecard can be automated. So I think
that's I think they're related. You're absolutely right. Yes. Excellent question, and it goes back to a couple of things. One is the training of people on how to manage and work according to metrics that are tied to the balanced scorecard, across, showing people, not just telling them, but showing them how their work is connected. That's also through training, learning. And then the communication, the continuous campaign of communications on how we're doing. Imagine if I'm working on a section of a code that goes into a bigger program, that goes into a much bigger program, that feeds into a product that goes into the market, and I am sitting on my desk and I found out that this product has been so successful in the market. Imagine the pride I have, yeah. So that linkage, the technology allows it to happen almost instantaneously. And sometimes, with the IoT devices that are out there, depending on, on your business, sometimes you can get real-time feedback. Yeah, I remember one of the hospitals had a smiling face and a sad face at the exit. Yeah, so they were having real-time sentiment of people that are visiting the hospital at that time. So I hope I answered that question. But technology definitely is the glue to make this happen. But of course, the training of individuals, is going to be also key.
Yeah. One point that I'd also add on to that is your bonus management. So for executives, for management level, you could connect that to your balanced scorecard in an automated way within the software, so that each executive can monitor its own bonus and the factors, the KPIs that drive that bonus.
Yeah.
So that everybody is aligned. If the structure of the bonus, the KPIs and the weights for each KPI were created from the same database as the balanced scorecard, you are automatically aligning these individuals' efforts with the strategy execution, right?
Yes.
So technology can help a lot in that sense, because you can extract the same set of KPIs you have in balanced scorecard to create your bonus policy.
Absolutely. I agree.
And align the individual objectives with the balanced scorecard, the global balanced scorecard.
Yeah.
Okay, so Hassib, thank you very much. We've reached our
thank you for having me.
Time here.
Yeah.
It was great, very insightful. And also I asked the participants to fill in the feedback form. If you guys can give us your take on this and make us do better masterclasses in the future, it's a great help for us. Thank you, Hassib.
Thank you. Thanks for
very fruitful. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.